Okay, now this is the third video. So this is going to go over the purpose and then the literature review. Oh, excuse me. For the purpose section, you are to read what you have written for this section. Oh, excuse me. Please be advised that you are only to select one of the choices and not speak about the ones you did not select. The choices you have to select from are the following: explore, better understand, contribute to existing theory, discover new information, or make policy recommendations. Right. So then this is what you're going to do. So actually, here, because I have the handout here. So then what you're going to do is that you're going to use the text that is found inside the quotation mark in the purpose section. Right. But now this is just referring to the written essay. When you write this section, you're going to copy exact the words that I have here. The purpose of this study is to. So that's what you're going to write for the essay. Right. Now I'm going to come to the presentation. So then when you're doing the presentation, all you're going to do is read that section, that sentence, say, the purpose of this study is to, and then you're going to select one of the choices that I have listed here. Explore, better understand, contribute to existing theory, discover new information, or make policy recommendations. Okay. Um, but then what I'm going to do here, as well as when I finish up the video for the research proposal, is explain what each term means, right? Because this is another way of how you're able to communicate through writing, because based on the word selections that you make tells the reader the level of involvement and dedication you have on a particular research project. All right. So for example, if you decide to say explore, what you're implying to your reader is that you really don't understand what the topic is. You don't really understand what the issues are, the issues involved with that particular topic, the debates that are associated with that topic, and who are the major contributors or recognized authority figures who discuss that particular topic. So then when you say this, the purpose of this study is to explore about how crime impacts or influences public policy. Right. Remember, that's the theme that I'm working with this example. So then you're just saying to your reader, I really don't know that much about it. I'm aware of it, but I'm not able to speak on it intelligently or provide an educated opinion. All right, so that's what explore implies. Or if you decide to select better understand, so then this is what you would say. The purpose of the study is to better understand about how crime influences public policy. So what you're saying by selecting the word better understand is that you do have a basic understanding what the issues are, what debates are involved, who may be some of the contributors, but you want to understand it better, right? Or you want to involve yourself more into that discussion or debate about society and crime and public policy. Okay, so this is a much higher threshold of understanding and uh, uh, a deeper breadth of knowledge about society, crime, and public policy. Now, if you decide to say contribute to existing theory, what you're telling the reader is that you have complete control or command of, and you understand what are the debates, who are the major contributors, what are the issues, empirical issues, methodological issues, ideological issues. There's so many things that you could discuss. All right. So then you're showing that by selecting contribute to existing theory is that you have a very strong command of all those components about your topic. Right. And if you do select this particular term or phrase, I am going to be looking for that, right? Because you're telling the reader your level of engagement and the level and breadth of understanding when you select this one, or even the other four issues. Or sorry, the other four purposes. All right, sorry about that. Forgot what section it was in. Okay, so then this is what it would sound like. The purpose of this study is to contribute to the existing theory about how crime is used to inform public policy. Right? Excuse me. All right. Now, number four, discovering new information. Just similarly, what I said about contribute to existing theory, by saying that you're discovering new information, you're telling the reader is you completely know every debate, every issue, every major contributor, and everything that needs to be known about a particular topic, and you realize based on your understanding of that topic there's something that they did not, or sorry, that the overall understanding of the debate is has not considered, and you want to introduce that piece of information into the debate about how crime informs public policy. Right. So then you're saying that you have a much better understanding, a better grasp of the issues, and so on and so forth. All right. So then this is what it would sound like. The purpose of the study is to discover new information about how crime is used to inform public policy. Right. So do you notice the different levels of involvement by selecting those four choices? Right. Because by selecting the fifth one, you're making another type of argument. And in this point, number five, make policy recommendations would mean that you want to help ameliorate, and ameliorate is just a fancy way to say that you want to try to fix it or address that issue, right? Like, and so this is something you would say. The purpose of this study is to make public policy about how crime is used to inform public policy, but want to only, but intend to offer some type of reform by disrupting the use of crime as a fear tactic to get certain type of public policies passed in the state legislature or in Congress, or whatever legal body is doing their thing, right? So then hopefully just by taking each point, you're able to see the different level of involvement and the different level and depth of involvement and understanding for the particular topic. Okay. Now, when you're done with the purpose, then you're going to go to the lit review. All right. And the lit review is going to be the longest section. So this would take about 3 to 4 minutes or so. All right. So then this is what you're going to do. So for this section of the presentation will be extensive. You will state the perspective you have adopted toward your object of study. The choices are the following. You are in favor of the object of study, you are critical of the object of study, you are adopting a balanced approach toward your object of study, are you adopting a lamenting stance towards your object of study? All right, now, so again, and I'm also going to explain this when I go over with the the research proposal write out essay. Okay, so then I'm going to explain what each of these mean. So, like, if you are saying that you're in favor of the object of study, means that you support the position, the of the topic that you're taking. Right. So, like, for example, there's a sociologist by the name of Jagdish Begwadi, and he wrote a book called In Defense of Globalization. And he believes that globalization is the greatest system that has ever been created. It has brought democracy, prosperity, and tranquility to people around the world, according to Bagwadi. So then he is in favor of globalization and capitalism. All right. And there's nothing wrong with that. He just needs to be able to make an argument to support that claim. All right. And provide the necessary evidence to try to convince the reader to see globalization as he does. Okay. So that's for in favor. Now, if you are critical of the object of study, that means that you're not necessarily in agreement with the overall argument, or the topic itself, but you're looking at it with a critical eye, right? And I would say that I would probably take a critical eye on understanding the relationship between how crime is used to inform public policy, right? Because by using fear as a motivator to shape public policy, or to get certain policies passed in state legislatures, is that you have to gin up the fear of crime, because no one in society would say, yes, I'm in favor of crime. That would be sort of like a ridiculous or nonsensical point to adopt. But it has been used to be able to pass certain type of laws in the United States, right? All right. So then that's for critical. Now, to or you can say that you're adopting a balanced approach, meaning that you're trying to be equal and fair on the topic, that you want to show the pros and cons. So it's almost like a compare and contrast type of argument, but you have to show what are the cons, or the pros or the benefits of using crime as a way to inform public policy. But you also have to give equal treatment to the drawbacks of using crime as a way to inform public policy, right? So that's what is meant by a balanced approach. You're trying to give each side equal treatment, or equal time in the context of your essay. Right. It's a challenging thing to do, but it is possible to do. Right. And it takes skill in terms of how to write it and present those ideas. Okay. But I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't try. I'm just like trying to make sure that you understand what each choice implies. All right. Now, lastly, number 4, are you adopting a lamenting stance toward your object of study? All right. So then the operative word in this question is lamenting. Lamenting is a word that means to mourn, or to be sorrowful about someone or something passing, right? So this is sort of the example that I've given all my classes about the idea and understanding of lamenting. All right. So for example, when I was in high school, or junior high and high school, um, I remember my teacher saying that, as long as you graduate high school, you could get an entry level job and work at a company for the rest of your life, and that was called lifetime employment, and that was a goal for many people of my generation, um, when we were in junior high and high school. You're right, because you can literally, like, this is sort of what was considered a successful life in the mid to late part of the 20th century. You would work for one or two companies over the course of your lifetime, and then when you're ready and you're able to work your way up, right? But if you needed to earn your degree, you would earn your degree, get your degree, and then you would be able to move up the corporation based on that degree. and then your compensation would be commensurate in relationship to your education. That's how the system used to work, right? And then once you're ready to retire, you would get a retirement party. You might get like a gold watch, right? And then when you retire, you get your pension from your job, your former employer, and then you would get Social Security from the federal government because you paid into it since whenever you started working for the company or the companies. And then within a year, you would die or that person would pass away because their whole identity was constructed around their ability to work. And once you take their sense of work away from them, some individuals lose their identity and then they become depressed, and it usually takes about a year more or less for that person to unceremoniously expire or pass away because they have no other um, thing to keep them active, right? So then that's what the word lamenting is, because today you're going to change your career at least 3 4 times, right? So I'll give you an example. Like with my own background, over the course of my working career, these are the different types of careers that I've had over the course of my lifetime. I used to be a certified nursing assistant, like in my late teens. Yeah, late teens. And then I became an LVN, like in my late teens, early 20s. And then I worked as an LVN for about 13 years, where I worked in different parts of the hospital, right, or different departments in the hospital, where I got a lot of different experience. And then from there, I became a case manager. Then I renewed my license to become a nurse case manager, and then I'm a professor. All right, and then I'm thinking about maybe even going to law school. So then I might have a sixth career, but today a person would change the career 3 4 5 times because of the job market or the labor market, and just like the 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 trajectory that that person takes while they're working. All right, so then that's what is meant by lamenting. So the first thing that you're going to say is this. So I would say, because of how crime is defined and how crime is used to inform public policy, this research is going to take a critical stance, um, and show how the use of fear of crime is a way to manipulate the public on accepting certain perspectives or understandings as it relates to public policy, right? So you could sort of say something like that, right? I'm just sort of like doing it off the cuff right now, so it sounds like a bit rough, but that's sort of what you're going to do. Just read that address that one point, and then once you're addressing that point, and then you're gonna go to the second point, which is here. You are to identify and talk about one of the points above, and once you have identified the perspective, you are to identify which theory you would use in the manuscript. The three choices you will select from are from the following: so, conflict theory and by Karl Marx, structural functionalism by Emil Durkheim, or symbolic interactionism by Max Weber. Now, you do not need to go out and do research on what they say. All you need to do is say that you're going to select one of these three theoretical perspectives that we use in sociology, and explain why you selected it and how will that theory help you analyze the information that you're going to provide in the lit review. Right. So then I would say for my paper that if I were to write it, I would say that I would use conflict theory, because conflict theory is a theory that looks at the power relationships, and to make policy is definitely an issue of power dynamics. So then by having so understanding how conflict theory looks at social power dynamics, I could use conflict theory as my overall theoretical perspective to be able to frame the issue of how using crime as a way to inform public policy is a form of manipulation, disinformation, or just like cynicism that certain politicians use when they're making public policy, right? Again, you don't necessarily start reading Marx, Weber, or Durkheim and put in what they say. Just sort of look at what are the general claims that each theory makes. So, conflict theory looks at the issue of conflict within society based on interests and power group dynamics. Structural functionalism looks at things at how things are organized in society, how the social institutions provides the stability of society, and then those institutions provide the roles that we fulfill in society, and the roles that and the roles that the social institutions provide for us are brother, sister, mother, father, co-worker, teacher, professor, president, um, uh, attorney. So we're all performing these different functions in society, or sorry, these different roles in society, right? Or and then lastly, symbolic interactionism is looking at and this theory is much more dynamic compared to conflict theory and structural functionalist theory. Symbolic interactionism actually tries to understand how an individual understands their immediate reality, right? Um, like for example, I'm trying to remember this one politician. Let's just go with Ted Cruz because Ted Cruz is usually in actually not Ted Cruz. Let's go with Matt Gates. There was a whole controversy about with Matt Gates because he was a congressman from the state of Florida, but then Trump nominated him for attorney general. You're right. But the problem with Matt Gates is that there are allegations that he engaged in um, sexual predatory behavior against a 17-year-old girl and also paid her money and then took her across lines. So then that's human trafficking, right? And then also paid her for having sex with him. Um, and then the contradiction is that he was nominated to be the head of the Justice Department. Basically to do the bidding of Trump. Was the general understanding that people had of this, or the critical position they had against Matt Gates. Okay. But Matt Gates himself would say that he never did it and that it's just a way for Democrats or the radical left to try to undermine his integrity and so on and so forth. All right. But the theoretical perspective is just wants to understand how people understand their reality. Okay. So again, you want to make sure that the theoretical perspective that you're taking or adopting is relatable to the object of study that you are discussing as well as writing about. Okay. Now, and then this is the next section. There's one more section, and then you'll be done with the lit review, and then I'll go to the significance and then the outcome. Once you have identified and explained which theory you will use, then you are to identify a concept that we'll use in the literature review. Oh, so sorry, two more. So what that means is that, or what I mean is that one of the sources that you're going to use for the lit review, you're going to identify a term that they use, all right, whatever that term might be. And then you're just going to say something like, this is a concept or term identified by such and such author. And this is how they define it. And this word or concept will be used somewhere in the body of the literature and the literature review. Right. And you want to make sure that you fulfill that promise. And then once you identify the concept, then you're going to identify one of the four sources or five sources. I can't remember if I wrote four or five sources for the lit review. All right. But then you're going to identify one of the sources you selected, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to provide the author's full name, last and first. You're going to provide the title of the source. If it's an article, give us the name of the article. Or if it's a chapter of a book, give us the name of the book and the chapter. Right. And after you identify the type of source you selected, you're going to describe and explain the argument of the source or what the author provides in that piece that you read. So you're going to tell us what the argument is. And then the last point you're going to do is you're going to argue how does that point you just read or the argument that you just sort of shared with your audience, how does that fit within your argument about your topic? Right. So then this is what you're going to cover just for the lit review. Does that make sense? Right. And I'm also going to make this somewhat similar comment when I finish up with the research proposal write out. All right. So I'm going to stop it here and then I'm going to go to the significance and then the outcome.